Hi everybody, we wanted to share some information with you about how things are going to look once we reopen inside the building. And so Jaylene is helping out. She's giving a lot of leadership and direction to our reopening plans. And so we're here just to talk about what things are going to be like as we gather again together, whenever that is, and we're hoping it's going to be as soon as possible.
So I heard there's going to be service on 3 different floors. Can you tell us what that looks like?
Sure. So we're going to be having the same service, and as we used to be doing, streaming to the fellowship hall, we're also now going to be streaming to the basement, the orange room. And so the sanctuary level will be kind of the standard level. The fellowship hall is designed to be primarily for families, where kind of segregating space might be an issue and children with masks might be an issue, but we want to give families some extra space where they would have some opportunity to be here, but also spread out. And then in the basement, in the orange room, which I think is, for me, actually the most comfortable space in the building, we're going to have that space for folks that are most cautious about this whole regathering experience. So we're going to have folks there. Everyone's going to be having masks on, but we're going to ask people in the basement, in the orange room, not to sing when we have singing. So that's really what we're planning on doing. Orange room is for the most cautious, no singing. Sanctuary will be as much of a normal gathering as we can post-COVID, and then the fellowship hall will be for families.
Okay, and so how about online services? Are we going to still have online services?
We are. We're going to continue to stream just like we have been, and we're working on some details. The way people access that might change in the weeks coming up, but we are still going to continue to have our services based on YouTube. So we're ready to go inside to see what it looks like in there. But before we do, we have a couple questions, or statements rather, about masks. We really want the church to be a mask-only place. We understand that people have different opinions on them, whether they're helpful, whether they're comfortable, but we know that the statistics are pretty clear that it's one of the best things that we can do to help prevent the spread of the disease. So while you're inside, we want you to wear a mask. Now, if you have small children and they're just not going to keep them on, we understand that. If you have a medical reason that you can't wear it, that's okay. We're not going to be judging each other as to why you always have 3 masks on or why you don't have any masks on. But we are going to get through this together. We do want you to wear a mask while we're inside, though. So we're going to put on our masks now and go on inside to see what it looks like.
The greeters will meet you at the door and open the door for you so that there will be a touchless entry into the building.
Let's go inside.
We will have hand sanitizer stations around the building. Make sure to use it generously to keep yourself clean.
Welcome.
Thank you.
How many are with you today?
Just one.
Okay, if you'll come with me, please.
All right.
And how about we seat you right here?
Thank you. That's
Okay.
great.
Okay.
Good morning. Welcome.
So we're now inside the building, and we want you to know that once you come in here, we don't want you just going every which way, but we're asking there to be an orderly flow. So we're asking folks to enter the front of the sanctuary, move the whole way to the back, and then we'll all exit together out the back. So if you're coming in the main doors here, you really shouldn't be making a right-hand turn for almost any reason at all. So just wanted to make sure that we had sort of flow of direction together, and with that, we'll move on to the sanctuary.
Morning. You come with me? We sit right here.
Okay, what are our giving practices going to look like while we're here in this post-COVID?
Yeah, in some ways it will resemble what we were doing before COVID, and in other ways it's brand new. We're going to have some kind of receptacle. We're not quite sure what that's going to be just yet. A central place where people can put their offerings. We're going to do that so that we're not passing around plates or baskets. We don't want everyone touching the same thing. So each floor will have its own place to receive offerings, and we'll make sure as we get more specific about what that's going to be that we let you know. But each floor will have that, but we'll also continue our practice of online giving, so people can give through the website or writing a check and putting it in the mail, as a lot of folks have been doing.
3, 2.
Soap, water. Jesus loves me, this I know, for the Bible tells me so, and so on for 20 seconds. So, we're in the men's bathroom. The women's bathroom has been changed in a similar kind of way. One of the sinks is now touchless. The lights are also touchless. They're also on a timer. The fans and lights are on the same switch now. So don't be surprised when you come in and everything comes on. It's a motion detector. Also, we want you to know that it will run for, I think it's 15 minutes. So if you decide to manually touch the light on your way out, it stays off for, I think, 15 minutes. We've had one complaint about that so far. So we'd rather you leave the light switches alone, let the timer work as it's supposed to. If someone else comes in, it will just activate the time again. So touchless sinks, touchless light switches. We're working on making the doors themselves touchless, and this is just some of the stuff that we're doing to help keep us all safe. And I'm smiling. So we talked earlier about the fact that we are going to be wearing masks while we're inside, but I'm expecting or assuming that that won't be, for example, for folks that are on the platform. I don't know if you want to speak to that a little bit.
Well, we were thinking that people on the platform would have a difficult time to be heard if they have a mask on. So for the whole congregation to be able to hear well, we're not expecting those who are speaking or singing on the platform to have masks on. We are going to create a lot of distance between the stage and the congregation while we're singing especially.
We also want you to know that as we gather here in the sanctuary, the ushers are going to be helping you find your seats. And we ask that you kind of give them a little grace as we go. It's sort of hard to ask people to do things that they don't want to do. And we're trying to make sure that we are using the space that we have, the limited space that we have, to the best of our ability. So if you could go ahead and just do what the ushers want you to do, that'll make their job easier. It'll make all of our lives easier. And we'll have jazz hands, just like Anne Marie said. So.
As you can see, we have half of the benches roped off, and we're planning to keep those rows empty in order to create a 6-foot space between people when they're sitting in the benches.
So we're upstairs in the fellowship hall. This is where the families are going to be. I was wondering if you could speak a little bit, Jaylene, to the plan for children's ministry, what parents could expect from Ministry 2 for their kids while they're here.
Well, we're hoping to have some kind of a children's message in the service. Don't hold us to that, but that's our plan for each week. We also have extra space around the room if parents want to come and bring a blanket for their kids to play on, so they have a little bit of place to move around. We're going to work on having some packets for the kids of activities that they can pick up, the parents can pick up. So if you come Sunday morning, you can pick up the packet. If you are going to stay home and you would love to have a packet, we just need to let the office know by Wednesday, and the packets will be ready for Thursday for you to be able to pick up and take home for your kids to have activities to do while you're watching the service online. So what we're asking people to do is leave at the same door you came in. So if you came in right out here and came up to the fellowship hall, please go out that way and don't go down the stairs. If you came in the sanctuary through the front door, please leave through the front door out of the sanctuary. If you came in the orange room down below, please go out that door. What we're trying to do is create smaller pockets of people so that if we would have COVID exposure, there would be only part of our congregation who would be at risk of catching it rather than the whole congregation. So please don't use the stairways. It will just help us to care for one another better.
So before we're done, we probably should talk a little bit about distancing practices. It's one of these strange things because we're kind of getting back together in the same space, but we have to also observe some geographic distance, physical distance between us to make sure we're doing our best to be safe. So you want to speak a little bit about some of that, and I might chime in as well as we talk about some of the space issues.
So what we're going to try to do is have 6 feet distance. We've been doing this in the stores, we've been doing it everywhere we're going, so we're going to just pick up that same practice here. So you can tell in this room we've set the chairs 6 feet distance. We're asking when you come in, if you come in the door and someone's at the doorway, please wait back 6 feet. If you're talking to a friend, please use that same 6-foot distance. I know it's really hard, especially a close friend, to stay that distance, but we're asking that we keep those distance practices.
One of the other ways that this becomes important and difficult is as we are connecting for the first time. Many of us won't have seen each other in quite a while, probably the longest that we can remember that we've been apart. And so there's going to be a natural kind of drawing together, a natural wanting to hug, to handshake, to be real close talking. We have to make sure if we're going to do all this, all that we've been through, and have it meaningful and worthwhile, we have to keep that distance. So some of the things that we need to kind of keep in mind is be very hesitant to ask someone if you can give them a hug. Because I know if you come up and ask me if you can give me a hug, I'm probably going to say yes, and it's going to be that I'm okay, but it also might be because I don't feel like I can tell you no. And we can say we all should be adults, we all should be emotionally mature, and I should just be able to be free to say no, and you should be able to take it, but none of us want to hurt the other person. And so we end up with a lot of hugging that maybe shouldn't be going on. So we, especially as we're starting out getting back in the same space, we need to make sure we're being extra careful. There's plenty of time to continue to get closer. We just need to make sure that we're doing these first few weeks right. So as we get together, we want to make sure that we're thinking about each other, not assuming, and not necessarily going for what I want. I know as I was talking to Jaylene, she was saying that she's not even hugging her grandchildren yet, and that she really wants to do that. And I can promise you, she probably is going to hug her grandkids before she hugs anyone else in the church. And so those are the kind of things that we have to keep in mind as we start to kind of encroach on each other's safe space, more or less. So the idea of social distancing and masks is kind of a pain in the neck, but it's really important for us as we are learning what it means to get back together in the same geography.
One of the other challenges is that maybe people in the same life group have been getting together and they're sort of in each other's bubble. So I might see 2 people really close together and wonder why they're doing that. Well, I don't know their backstory. So it's going to be important that we don't judge people for what they're doing, that we give lots and lots and lots of grace to each other, and we understand, and we don't feel sad or angry or jealous because they're getting hugs and I'm not. Like, this is going to be really hard emotionally for us. And I think we need to all be asking the Lord to help us to have the best attitude we can have, because this is really a time for the church to shine and to be God's light in our world. But we can't do that well if we're getting offended easily or we're pushing ourselves into other people's spaces.
Yeah, that's a good point. So since we can't do the things that we normally do when we gather, come up with new things. We can do the elbow gesture. People, do the heart thing. You can do that. Smiles are a great thing, even though we'll be wearing masks on the inside. You can pat your heart. You can give someone a pointer or thumbs up, whatever you want to do. We're just trying to express love in ways that don't involve kind of getting too close to each other physically. So conquer that space in another way, and whatever else we can come up with will be great. Be creative, I would say.
One of the other things I was thinking about in creativity is using words. A lot of times we tend not to say our words of affirmation, so I've been telling my family, I'm saying I love you a lot more because I can't give you that hug. And so I think adding words of affirmation with people that we are wanting to talk to helps to take up the space that feels awkward between us.
And along that same kind of line, so much of our communication is lost by masks. It really is one of the things I lament a lot about masks. But what that calls us to do is things like making sure our words are doing extra communicating, or making sure that we're trying to communicate our facial expression with just our eyes. So what can we do to let people know what we're thinking of them, how we're feeling about them just with our eyes, when that might be all that they can see, at least while we're inside the building?
Well, Rob, we've had lots to think about and talk about today.
Yeah.
Do you have any last words of advice you want to give?
One of them is to, like we've said already, give a lot of grace as you come. Maybe allow some extra room of time, because it's going to take us a little longer in order to get people seated the way we want to. And the last thing for sure is, if you're not feeling your best, please, 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 please stay at home. We are still streaming, and this isn't a time to take a risk for yourself or for other people. If there's any chance at all that you're not feeling your best, just stay at home, and with the Lord's help, we will see you as soon as possible. Jazz hands.